Hello and welcome to the section 1.1 video today. We are going to actually be doing this one in class, but for those of you that maybe couldn't make it to class or need a refresher, that's what this video is really for. So we're going to get an idea of how this class is going to proceed, how we're going to be able to do these things. So in looking at this is going to be your notes, and I'm hoping that you have this in front of you in order to make this a little bit easier. But as we look through this, we'll kind of note some different things about the setup of this class. So the first day's target is performing operations with integers. And we want to recall that integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So they don't have a decimal, they don't have a fraction. Okay, and we'll look at some possibilities of how to do these different things. And we can cover these a multitude of different ways, but as far as something that I could give you and have you write down and see is a little bit different and a little bit better, I think. So the first method that we want to talk about is using a number line. So when we use a number line to add or subtract, and this can be a physical number line or even just thinking about it to yourself. And it's kind of the idea of like counting on or counting back. Okay, so we think about using a number line, we want to go 5 plus 8. So we know where 0 is. It's got to be somewhere less than what we're dealing with. And I really need to know where 5 is. So we can say that 5 is right there. And if you want to say, well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that would work also. Or we're just thinking that we're starting here at 5. Okay, and we want to add 8. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's how far we want to go, plus 8. And so we're going to end up right here. Well, where is that? Right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we end up at 13, and that ends up being our answer. So again, whether you do this with a physical number line that we have here, or even just think about this, kind of in your mind as you work through this, that would work also. The next one, I have 5 minus 8. So again, I'm going to think about where 0 is. I want to know that that's somewhere. We can work our way up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we're starting here at 5. And when we subtract, we want to go the opposite direction. We want to go back 8. So counting backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and so we're going to make our way all the way back to here. And what is that? That's -1, -2, -3. So our answer there is -3. Okay, so probably best bet, pause the video and try these two. Hopefully you had a chance to do that, and hopefully it made sense. I don't really care about the scale up to 13, especially on an addition problem. I just want to know that I'm going to start at 13, and I am going to move to the right 5. I'm going to make the number bigger by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And so we're there at 18, and all is well. For 13 minus 5, and I got 0 somewhere, I got 13 somewhere, and I want to start from here and go back 5. So we'll say back 1, back 2, back 3, back 4, back 5, which is 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. So we're there at 8. Okay. The other method that we have is more of a vertical layout. Okay, and that's just kind of our old school method of adding and subtracting. And it's totally fine to use this. It actually works better than the number line for bigger numbers. Okay, and this one we're adding these numbers. And we just add the vertical columns. 3 plus 5 is 8. 2 plus 4 is 6. 1 plus 0 is 1. So we get 168. In subtraction, things get a little bit weird, or can get a little bit weird, in that if we don't have enough, like here, I technically can't go 3 minus 5. That's when we talked about borrowing 1. And this turns into a 13. 13 minus 5, well, we've already done that. But we can, if we have to think about it in a number line, we can. That's going to be 8. And again, I can't really go 1 minus 4, but I can go 11 minus 4 by borrowing 1 from the previous, or from the left column. And 11 minus 4 is going to give us 7. So we have 78 for that one. Okay, and that's fine, and most people are okay with those, but we also want to talk about some problems with some more negatives. So what do I do when there are too many negatives? A couple rules come into play here. First of which, that we see here, and we actually see this on all these problems, that subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. And I might put that over here. That's a good kind of general note. Anything left of the line would either be questions like, hey, I don't get this. And that would remind you to ask that when we get into class. Okay. So you might say that previous step, hey, I don't really understand this. Can we try some more of those types of problems? Okay. But here I might say subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. Okay, or if you want to do it this way, you have some number minus a negative number turns into that some number plus a positive some number. Okay. And the way that I like to visualize that is minus a negative turns into add a positive. Okay, so I'm just saying negative 5 instead of minus negative 7, it's going to be negative 5 plus positive 7. And same thing that we did before. If you want to look at a number line, you can make it, right? It's just a line. If we have 0 here and we have negative 5 here, and then I want to go to the right 7, well, I'm going to move 5 to get to 0, 6, 7. So I'm going to move to right there. That's positive 2. So my answer there is positive 2. Next one, negative 15 minus a negative 13. That's going to turn into add a positive. And that's going to be, looks like negative 2. So negative 15 plus 13. When we turn this problem, really, it'd be easier to see this way. When we have a problem like this, I'm adding numbers and they have different signs. I actually subtract them and keep the bigger sign. Okay, that's kind of an older rule or older sentiment that we hold when we're adding and subtracting. So when we're adding numbers with different signs, we subtract them and keep the sign from the bigger one. We did that same thing back here, but this turned into 5 plus 7. We subtracted those. 5 minus 7 is 2, and kept the sign from the bigger one. The bigger one was positive, so it was positive 2. This one, we subtract them. 15 minus 13 is 2, and the bigger number is 15. It's negative, so we have negative 2 as an answer. Okay. Same thing on this one. Add a positive. It turns into 72 plus 28. That's just addition with positive numbers. You have to think about 72 plus 28 this way. That is okay. 2 plus 8 is 10. 7 plus 2 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. So that's 100 that we get for that answer. Awesome. Okay, let's move on. And let me just make sure that was it on that side. I think so. Yes, it was. Okay. Next thing we're going to look at is multiplying and dividing with negatives. And really just multiplying and dividing in general. But when we have negatives involved, we have some different rules that we like to follow. Okay, and it turns into this, that we get, I'm going to make us a little table here. Little tic-tac-toe board. And I'm going to deal with, I have a positive and a negative, I have a positive and a negative. And we're dealing with multiplication or division. So I'll write it this way, multiplication or division. A lot of times you'll see me use multiplication as the dot. I'm a firm believer in that. Also, when two numbers are right next to each other with parentheses, that is also multiplication. Okay. But when we're thinking about what the sign is, and that's the issue, it turns out that there's kind of a way to think about it that kind of helps some people. I think of it as like a positive or negative person. Actually, let me say that the other way. And positive meaning good, negative meaning bad. We're going to go with event, or I think of it as a thing, a positive or negative thing. And I think of this column here as a positive or negative person. Okay, so saying like a good thing happening to a good person is a good thing. Okay, a good thing happening to a bad person, okay, is a bad thing. We don't want good things to happen to bad people. Then there's no reason for them to ever be good. Okay. If a bad thing happens to a good person, that's just sad. That's a bad thing. And then if a bad thing happens to a bad person, we kind of see that as a good thing. If somebody that breaks the rules gets in trouble for it, that's a good thing. That's what should happen. Okay. But like here, if somebody breaks the rules and nothing bad happens to them, that's a bad thing. That doesn't ever teach them to not break the rules. Okay. But it really turns out that in multiplying and dividing, if the two signs are the same, then either positive times a positive is a positive, or negative times a negative is a positive. So if the signs are the same, then your answer is going to be positive. If the signs are different, if one is positive and one is negative, then your answer is going to be negative. Okay. But make sense of that however it helps you. I don't know if you want to use the good thing happening to a good person. If you want to use that, go ahead. Otherwise, if you have some other way that makes sense to you, then that works as well. Now, for multiplication, just general multiplication, it just means repeated addition. So that's one way that you can always deal with multiplication if you need to. In that sense, 5 times 8 is either 5 added to itself 8 times or 8 added to itself 5 times. It works in either direction. Okay? So that's one way that you can handle that. Okay? So let's say that it's 8 added to itself 5 times. Plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. And if you want to count by 8s, then you can. 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. So we end up with 40. On this one, first thing I kind of deal with is the sign of my answer. I have a negative times a positive, negative times a positive. Negative times positive is negative. So my answer is going to be negative. And then it's just, say, 7 added to itself 4 times. And typically I'll go with the easier one of those two. Right? Over here, I kind of did the reverse order on that one, but it doesn't really matter. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 7 is 21, plus 7 is 28. So we get negative 28 as an answer. 15 times 9, positive times a positive will be a positive. So we don't really have to worry about signs there. And 15 times 9, that's like 15 added together 9 times. And that might be easier. Oops. Yikes. I don't like that. Obviously, there is the vertical method of multiplication, and that works out for some people. The downfall to this one is I have to write 15 9 times. And I think I'm at 5, 6, 7, oh geez, 7, and we'll add a couple over here, 8, and 9. And then we can count by 15s. That part's not too bad. 15 and 15 is 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105, 105, 120, and 135. So we get 135. But again, there is also the 15 times 9 that you can do it this way, if that part makes sense to you, right? That's going to be 45, and then you multiply, then add. 9 plus 4 is 13. So that's another way to get there. Two methods for dividing. We have two different things that we can do. We can use, if multiplication is repeated addition, then division should just be repeated subtraction. So division is repeated subtraction. Or another way that we think of it is to split. I guess I gotta spell things right. That would be nice. Split into even groups. Okay, so for the first one, it says we want to use method 1, which works out just fine. I want to repeatedly subtract 2 from 16 and then count up how many 2's I'm subtracting by until I get to 0. Right, so I can subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2. Subtract 2 is going to give me 6, minus 2 is going to give me 4, minus 2 is going to give me 2, and minus 2 is going to give me 0. And how many times did I do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. That's a way to think about it. And of course, one way that I don't talk about, because I don't use it that often. I use other skills more often than not. You can go with the long division strategy, right? You can do it this way, but long division isn't really going to help you here. I would say more often than any of these, I use kind of the backwards method and kind of use multiplication, thinking that 2 times what is going to give me 16. Okay, so if that makes sense to you also, then use that method. I'm just giving you other opportunities. So the second method, splitting into even groups, I'm going to count off 18 in groups of 3. So I'm going to think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And so those are my 3 even groups vertically, but how many how many are in each group? And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 would be my answer there. Okay. Go ahead and pause the video and try those methods again. Pick your favorite, or pick long division, or pick, whatever you want to do. But give the video a pause and give those a shot. All right, hopefully you had a chance to do that. You should have gotten 9 on 36 divided by 4, and I guess also 9 on 27 divided by 3. Okay, going a little bit over the 20-minute mark. That's what I want to keep all these videos at. Try to get them done in less than that, but sometimes they'll go a little bit over. So hopefully that helps. Make sure you get this done and get that homework done and submitted, and we will see you in class.